So I'm here with James Beddome at the town hall called by various environmental organizations for the purpose of examining the provincial government's green plan discussion paper. James, can you give me some of your initial thoughts about what the government announced in terms of its green plan?
Sure. Well, I think let's start with acknowledging that the government has put a price on carbon. That's a historic first step. That said, I think the government should have went higher. They should have started at a $50 a ton carbon tax, as the Greens proposed in the last election, and it should be an increasing carbon tax in order to add incentives for people to make the right decisions. I would have liked to see this government go a little bit further, and it's also problematic that they're making a fight with the federal government. I'd like to see a government that's going to work cooperatively with other governments to address climate change in Manitoba, Canada, and indeed around the world, rather than creating needless court fights. As a lawyer, I can tell you they're not always constructive and they cost a lot of money. I think, though, it's really encouraging to see all of these people out here today to address the government's discussion paper. So there's some flaws in the discussion paper. The exemptions for large industrial emitters who are going to be based on an output-based system really worries me. I see it as a way of allowing these large emitters to simply increase their emissions as long as they reduce the emissions intensity of it. I also have some issues with the exemptions on agriculture. When we're completely ignoring a third of the emissions of the province, we're not really dealing with a good plan. And as some people have commented tonight, this isn't so much as a plan as a discussion paper. That said, there are some good components in there. There are some aspects that we have to recognize, some opportunities that I think Manitobans need to push for. This government is going to see $260 million a year in revenue from the carbon tax that's going to impose, or at least that's what its projections state. And so how can we use that money to reduce emissions? How can we use that money to perhaps reduce taxes elsewhere and make sure that those that are living below the poverty line aren't unduly impacted by those changes? These are all questions that I think we have to face. For me, I think the electrification of our transportation is a huge opportunity, both our buses and our vehicles. It's going to create more jobs, it's going to add revenue to Manitoba Hydro, and it's going to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Implementation of an alternative land use system as proposed in there is a great way to protect Lake Winnipeg and also lower greenhouse gas emissions. So there are some good nuggets in there, and I think it's important that people participate and, encourage the government, their comments, to not just start with this discussion paper, but to go forward, implement a real plan, and make for a better, more ecological, sustainable Manitoba.
Thanks very much.